projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking On Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing?
I am doing all right. Right now, my Cowboys getting slaughtered. So still have a second half to go. So we'll see how it plays out. Other than that, pretty good. How about you, sir?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, my team is not getting slaughtered right now. So I'm exhausted trying to keep up notes for this week's show.
Boy, it's been
When we
crazy.
left y'all last Sunday, we thought that we'd be talking about the national title game, possibly Jim Harbaugh going somewhere, and maybe Bill Belichick going somewhere.
Right.
That's about a
And
tenth of what happened this week.
right. And I mean that was a pretty good content in itself.
Yeah, that was good content. And then add in the first weekend of the playoffs, all right, hey, we're going to have a good show.
Right.
Well, as y'all know, we came at you Wednesday night because Nick Saban up and retired out of nowhere on the same day that Pete Carroll stepped down from the Seahawks job. So we didn't even get to talk about also one of the top coaches of the last 25 years stepping down. The next day, Bill Belichick announced that he's leaving New England.
Yeah.
All of
that's
that.
Crazy to think about a Euro within 24 hours. Pete Carroll, Nick Saban, and Bill Belichick all call it quits, at least at their current spot. I'm sure Bill might still be looking to go somewhere else, but for right now, it's just crazy. And to see him in a different on a different sideline would be wild.
It's gonna be weird, but we'll get to that. I guess we'll start with Alabama, like we usually do. Of course, we already, like I said, had the episode on Saban retiring. We have his replacement, Kalen DeBoer, comes over from Washington. Maybe not a lot of fans' first choice. I forget what we said when we talked about it. Kind of unsuspecting to us. Allegedly, this was Greg Burns' first choice all along. We kind of knew. We told ourselves it probably wouldn't be Sark because, Texas. He's just in such a good spot at Texas.
Right.
We both kind of wanted Lane, but apparently Lane's burned too many bridges in Tuscaloosa to maybe get that job, or just wasn't what they wanted.
Saying, yeah.
Who
knows?
And of course, Dan Lanning and Mike Norville and Sark and some guys got paid real nice off this. Jimmy Sexton just collecting that 10%. Like, whew. That man's got to have. He might own his own country. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and who knows how real all those were? I think the Dan Lanning thing. I don't know if that ever have legs other than that guy who said about the guy in Oregon on the news up there who I guess went to Alabama or something. Who went to Alabama who then said that he was in Tuscaloosa and then that kind of jumped up and everybody went crazy with it. But I wasn't ever even thinking that was an option, or in the playing cards really. But who knows?
Yeah. No, that seemed like a pipe dream. It's a lot of people. A lot of people I saw is their number one, but
yeah.
Like I said, so we got Kalen DeBoer. His record speaks for itself. Just amazing, like 105-12 or something in his head coaching career.
He wins everywhere he goes.
He
puts together, and it sounds like his offensive staff is coming with him to Tuscaloosa, which is amazing because just
that's
the numbers
huge,
they put up. Because and so some of the guys I write with on the Bama Hammer site, we've been talking back and forth, and it was talking about the comparison between our wide receivers this past year and the Doomsday. And the Doomsday have more wide receivers than our top 3 wide receivers combined as far as yards. That just just shows you kind of the difference in what we hopefully can see there sooner than later, as far as that offense production. You would think it'd be a wide receiver dream based upon what we saw at Washington, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't think it translates well to Tuscaloosa. So excited on
Mm-hmm.
that end.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a bump up in the caliber of athletes and talent he'll
Hmm.
have to
Yeah,
coach.
yeah,
Like you
exactly.
said, he's bringing along OC Ryan Grubbs.
Hmm.
Washington passed him over um, for their head coaching job. Looks like they got their man. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's huge. That's kind of what I was hoping once we got DeBoer is that he'd
Hmm.
bring Grubbs with him and
Yeah,
that
bringing
offense.
a
Like
wide
you
receiver
said,
coach too. It looks like.
yeah. Brings wide receiver coach, bringing his player personnel director Courtney Morgan, which seems to be a big thing because
Hmm.
I've seen many articles uh, uh, celebrating that fact that he's bringing him with him. So yeah, as far as staff, we kind of starting to get the idea of what he wants to do in offense. He even
Hmm.
said in his introductory press conference he wants to be aggressive and physical, which I like that. Um, and obviously, we saw what, like you said, what he did with Michael Penix, Adunze, and all those guys there. He's going to have two receivers in the first round. There's a chance Penix might sneak into that first round.
Hmm.
No shortage of um, great player development there for him.
Right.
Like you said, he's a winner everywhere he goes. Three NAIA national titles. Turned Fresno State around. Turned
For
Washington
Washington,
around.
they
Just
were
2 years.
trash when he
Yeah,
got there. I
yeah.
mean,
Jimmy Lake was not
was
the
not the
con-
guy they thought.
yeah, not the continuation of the Chris Peterson era they had hoped.
No.
Really tanked him, and you know, um, DeBoer immediately went, took over a team that went 4-8 the season before him and went 25-3 in 2 years.
Yeah.
Uh, 12-2 versus ranked teams.
Hmm.
Um, five and
Undefeated
zero
against
against Sark and Lanning and
and Lincoln
uh,
Riley.
Lincoln
I
Riley. That's
mean,
it. Yeah. It just he done a hell of a job, and of course the
yeah,
big concern with him is that it's all Midwest and West Coast. He's a South Dakota guy. That's where he went to
right.
school.
Exactly.
Sioux Falls, their NAI team that he also coached. Um, so we got to get some Southerners on the staff, or at least some guys familiar with SEC.
Right.
Unfortunately, we do know T. Rob Tavares Robinson won't be one of those
Won't
guys. He
be
took a
those guys.
position as one of the 27 co-defensive coordinators on Georgia's staff.
Yeah. I
Um,
guess him and I guess Will's moving to a just off the field role, just so he can watch his kid more play at Vanderbilt. Since he's gonna be a quarterback
mhm,
there, so he's gonna be him and Schumann running the defense now. I mean,
mm,
just a plethora of riches in Athens right now, as far as your coaching staff. My goodness,
yeah,
on
um,
the defensive side is ridiculous.
yeah. But that said, that DeBoer also came out and said he wants to be aggressive in building his staff. He
Hmm.
said, we won't get every single position filled, but he wants to have the big one. So I would expect the
Right.
defensive coordinator position to be filled. Maybe by the time this recording actually comes out, we're talking on
Yeah.
Sunday evening here. But we'll
I
see.
did like that he's keeping, Freddie Roach will still be on the staff. It looks like.
That's huge. That's huge.
I love that. And then of course, I think the running back coach is staying on. And then I know he's not really considered, I guess, a coach, but our developmental guy seemed pretty excited about it. I think that's a good sign as well, as far as him
Mm-hmm.
coming in as a coach. But yeah, definitely, it'll be interesting to see what we do with the defensive coordinator spot, and
Mm-hmm.
and yeah,
Yeah.
they say the big thing, of course, is he doesn't have any Southern ties and everything. I mean, I don't think that's so much a thing anymore. It isn't in a sense, but I mean, if you get the right assistants around you who have that experience, and as you gain that experience and trust of the community you're in and the state, and build
Mm-hmm.
relationships with the high school coaches, I think that all falls into place.
Yeah, that's something it doesn't worry me too much to start off.
No,
Um,
no,
like you said, and plus you got to get results on the field. If we get someone
yeah,
in here and our
exactly.
recruiting tanks and the defense looks awful, okay, then that's when you.
Right.
But yeah. So again, that's just something that's what we have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part of that is, we got to see. Of course, the portal opens back up now.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah, it hasn't been
Isaiah
friendly so
Bond
far.
has already
Yeah.
committed to Texas, but from everything I've read, it seems like that was going to happen regardless. Maybe even if
Regardless.
Saban didn't even
Yeah.
retire.
Yeah.
Um,
I saw
so
supposedly via Snapchat he was at a Ferrari dealership in Austin.
yeah,
How real that is, who
yes, I saw
knows? I
that.
was like, wow. But hey, I mean, and he said it was a business decision. Hey, can't have a double standard to knock him if he feels like that's going to get him to the league better. Hey, it is
Hmm.
what it is. I mean, I wish. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he was gone anyway because in his thing he basically said, he saw DeBoer called him, but he didn't even get back with him at all. So I mean,
Yeah.
obviously he was kind of gone as soon
Hmm.
as Saban was out the door. It sounds like maybe he was gone either way because that was a quick transition there. So,
Yeah,
but hey,
that sounds like.
we will always appreciate 4th and 31 and
Hmm.
wish him the best in Austin.
Yeah, thank you for Gravedigger. I'm sure Daniel Moore might be a little upset. Probably won't sell as many of those paintings now. Um, But
Yes,
yeah.
it'll still be all
Other than
right.
that, no other major departures. Amari
As of,
Niblack has thrown his name into the portal ring for now.
yeah,
We'll see, and of course, there's always a on the flip side of that.
no,
Who knows who he might bring from Washington? Washington had about
right,
4 or 5 guys themselves into the portal
yeah.
right away, including Jabbar Muhammad, a big time
That's
receiver recruit for
that's
them. Yeah.
the Muhammad, the cornerback. I mean,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
he
cornerback.
is
Yeah.
a top tier guy. I mean, he goes up against the team's number one. He held his own against
Hmm.
those Texas wide receivers and throughout the Pac-12. I mean,
Hmm.
hey, and that would be a huge get. I don't know what his thoughts are for where he's even looking to go, or if he interested in staying with the board. But man, that would be huge. He's a
Yeah,
talented guy.
that's a big one. And then, of course, retaining any other, of course, Caleb's Downs names
Hmm.
is the
He's
first one to come
everywhere.
up because he's a big T Rob guy. And,
Yeah.
uh, of course, everything I've said that if that does happen, if Downs does end up leaving, it would be Ohio State, not Georgia, which hopefully, if he's
Doesn't
got to
happen
go,
at
but
all. Yeah.
hopefully, yeah, he stays in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
He was in videos. If you were internet sleuthing over the weekend, there's a video of Jalen Milrow coming up after DeBoer introduced himself at a team meeting, and Jalen Milrow came up to personally talk to him, introduce himself, and Caleb Downs was right behind him.
So hopefully
Um,
that's a good sign.
so yeah, don't go into panic mode just yet, Bama fans.
No.
It's natural you're going to lose some guys
You'll lose
because
a
they
few.
came to play for Nick Saban.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, when
um,
you obviously
yeah,
and obviously, I mean, that's gonna happen. I mean, not
yeah.
only that, and those that are upset about the hire and he hasn't done anything really. If you look at it, what current college coach has really done anything
Hmm.
super significant other than, of course, who we knew for sure wasn't coming? That's Kirby Smart. I mean,
Hmm.
if you look at the field of coaches out there, I mean, there's great coaches, but nobody has significantly won championships. You know, I mean, I think for what was out there, and who would want to follow the the greatest of all time, and coming
Hmm.
into a place such as Tuscaloosa, I mean, there's not going to be that many folks, and for him to not only want to, but embrace that challenge. I mean, that's the guy. That's the guy kind of guy I want as my next coach.
Hmm.
Obviously, not scared of the challenge, and hey, I'm all for it. See what it
Exactly. Yeah.
comes with it.
His introductory comments, yeah, I like the way he spoke. I like the way that he
Yeah.
does seem to, want to take on the challenge. Understand why Washington fans would be upset, but hey,
Oh
they
yeah. I mean, that's
that's the way it
they
goes. Washington's a
they
great program, had a great season. Hopefully, they
yeah
continue their success in the Big Ten, but Alabama's a different level. There are a
yeah.
few. There's a top tier of jobs in the country that you just can't say no
Can't,
to, and
right, if it comes your
we're
way.
one of them. Yeah.
Mm.
And of course, he's talked about how he'll keep Nick Saban in the program, and
Yeah.
he's extended
He wants all
invites
the
already out
players.
to former players. Yeah,
Yeah. Beautiful thing. Yeah.
yeah. So he's hitting all the right check marks right
Doing all the
now.
right things. Yeah.
Uh huh. So yeah, we'll just see. Like I said, right now he's going to building the staff, and then he's
Hmm.
recruiting. Finishing. Recruits. He's recruiting his own team, and he's recruiting any other transfers he might need to plug.
Exactly.
It's all you saw Will Howard entered the transfer portal, so his Washington career might be super short. And
Yeah, Rogers.
not
But yeah,
Rogers or
yeah.
Rogers, sorry.
I wonder where he. I
Hmm.
don't know where he. And I know people. Some people are always coming to Tuscaloosa. I don't know if he's going to come back to the
I,
SEC.
I don't think that. Yeah, and I don't think the quarterback room has got room for him. I mean,
Yeah, I
he
mean,
he'd have to
his.
battle Jalen for the spot next year, and then he's out of
Hmm.
eligibility, and
Yeah,
Jalen might have to battle for his own job. Come fall practice
yeah.
with
Honestly, I mean,
Ty Simpson and the what's
the
it got
freshman.
Langren, and of course Julian Saying coming in.
Yeah,
One of the most
who
hyped
knows?
recruits in a while.
If he's
Um,
what they say is, I mean,
mhm,
if he's the best out there, put him in. And that's the thing too. I mean, DeBoer and his staff. I mean, they have no specific loyalties to any of these guys. I mean, they haven't
mm-mm,
been around them or recruited them per se. So, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the spring and the spring ball and then fall, because I think
mhm,
we're gonna see. We may not see exactly what we expect, and then also just how they their way of developing quarterbacks. Who knows?
mhm.
So,
Yeah, we might be in for, and we also don't know what it looks like when he's got a running quarterback. I mean, we kind of do. He was OC at or quarterbacks coach, one of the two. I can't remember at
hmm.
Indiana when Michael Penix was there, and
He
Penix ran
was.
a
You're
lot
right.
more before his knee injury. So
Yeah, he did.
for
He
anybody,
was very explosive.
yeah,
Yeah.
for anybody with fears that oh no, he needs a pocket passer, and
No.
Jalen might not be right for his offense. Maybe he can tailor his offense better.
Right.
And speaking one guy we didn't even mention, this will be interesting to see what happens with Tommy Reese. Now, I
It
imagine
will
he
be.
wouldn't want to stay on staff as
Yeah. I don't know
any
what.
unless they can talk him into maybe some coordinator and quarterbacks
Yeah.
coach thing, or I don't know. But
Yeah.
if Grubbs is
I
coming,
don't
then
know.
you'd imagine that Reese is gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe
he
that would
goes.
be.
He might be going to Baton Rouge to join Brian Kelly. Now
Yeah.
that they're looking for a new OC.
Yeah, who knows?
Um,
I mean, that's what a couple years ago that was the plan originally. He turned it down to say Notre Dame.
yeah. Um, and of course, we mentioned the recruits. Ryan Williams, a 5-star receiver from Saraland. I'm sure that DeBoer is already putting calls to him,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
sure again, it's pretty big that you can put on your tape of this season and those receivers. Like we said, he's going to have 2 first-round draft picks at
yeah,
receiver. Put on that tape for these offensive players.
yeah,
I
for
I
sure.
think it'd be hard pressed for guys not to get excited about that. And again, you're not going to get everybody. You're going to lose some guys just because you're not Nick Saban. That's
Right.
understandable. But like we said, we're
Yeah,
just
I just think that we're gonna get a much
mhm,
more open offense that we got familiar with more with Lane and Sark and
mhm,
more of that style. I mean, I think it's gonna be a lot less predictability than what we've had the last couple years with O'Brien and then this past year. I mean,
with
the
Reese. Yeah.
offense was kind of predictable. You kind of knew what was gonna happen,
Hmm.
but I'm excited for it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be. I guess the key thing I'm really interested just what we're gonna do with the defensive coordinator more than anything. But
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing right now. Let's see who that is, and then we can worry about players coming and going.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think that's where we're at, and I think that's pretty much all we can really say on
right.
that for now. Of course, I mentioned his former school now, or it looks like they have their man. They looks like they're
Yeah,
getting
they
Jed
got the
Fish from Arizona.
Arizona. Wow,
A great
that's
hire
huge.
themselves. Yeah. Sucks for Arizona, especially with
It
them moving
does.
to the Big 12
It
now.
does.
But
Because he had them, and he had them going in the right. I mean, I guess it's similar to
mhm,
DeBoer. I mean, he came into Arizona with god awful, and he
yeah,
had them looking really good at the end of the 23 season. And now you'd
mhm,
have to think, man, is his quarterback following him to Washington, or what's going to happen with that? Because man, that's a court. I think he's destined for stardom in college football, and so that'd be interesting to see where he goes if he stays, or if he follows his coach to Seattle and
or yeah, does Will
change.
Rogers see this hire? Go, you know what? I think I want to play that offense. Stick around.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
It's a
um,
lot of interesting pieces. And then, of
but
course, the
yeah,
other interesting thing is, you know, um, at the end of the day, we might also have that Michigan job opening up as well.
I was about to say, and we haven't even got to that. On Monday, of course, there's this little athletic competition. The whole national championship game happened this week, and it's
Mm.
20 minutes into our show. Uh, uh, and
Hmm.
and that's not again, not even counting the Saban only episode we did
All right.
Wednesday. Uh,
Because what a wild week it's
Michigan, of
been.
course, beat Washington. Score was a blowout. They ended up winning 34-13, but it was a one-score game well into the
A
fourth
good
quarter.
amount of the game. Yeah.
Michigan
Started
did
off
push them
bad.
around. Oh yeah,
I
yeah, whew,
was like, oh my God, this is going to get ugly.
yeah. But Michigan kind of did what they did against us and did to everybody all year. Is they pushed him around. They put the
Yeah.
quarterback on his ass. They only had one sack in the game, but they were back there
They
hitting
were
him and
after him.
hurrying him all game. Hurt
Yeah.
his ribs at one point late in the game.
I was like,
You could
just
tell,
pull him. Jeez.
yeah,
There's
everything.
no
You could
point.
tell Penix was, showing his
He
heart
was.
and he's trying
Yeah.
to tough it out. But man,
But, man.
and they rode the back. Blake Corum, big game. So
Hmm.
Michigan are your 2023 national champs. Uh, Jim Harbaugh does what he came to his alma mater to do, gave him a national title, and he might be on
Yeah.
his way out. He is going to interview with the Chargers. They'll be the first
Yeah.
NFL vacancy to talk with him.
Jeez, that would be Jim
Uh
Harbaugh
huh.
with that offense. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might,
With Justin Herbert and those big receivers, that talented. Yeah, that's
wow. That could
I'd
be
be a home run
interesting.
hire for the Chargers
Yeah,
right there.
for sure.
And then it's going to be some changes for Michigan. It looks like
Yeah,
next
looks
week
like
or next year. Yeah,
quarterback.
McCarthy and Corum both to the draft.
I'm
Um,
not. I'm not shocked about Corum. I was a little
mm.
shocked with McCarthy, because he's a nice quarterback, but I don't know. I mean,
he
obviously, I'm
yeah
not a.
he's a weird one when you read what scouts say about him. Some of them worry about his arm strength a little bit and that he didn't really get to show it much at Michigan, which is true. But
Mhm.
he's got that NFL quarterback size. He's what
Yeah,
6'2", 6'3", 220, 230. He's got
I
that
mean, he has some
build that they
mobility, and
love. Yeah, and he's
yeah,
athletic. Yeah, he's very athletic for a guy of that build.
yeah, yeah. There's some that love him. Like there's some that he's a must hit first round guy. There's
Mm,
others that aren't as high. So I guess it's just what your preference is. But
mhm,
I mean, he's a winner. He's a tough guy. He, came back and made sure that he
mhm,
finished what he didn't succeed at last year. And hey, he went
mhm,
out as champion. So
mhm.
a heck of a season. But yeah, a lot of changes in Ann Arbor for sure, and that would be interesting as well because you'd have to. I mean, do they move up the offensive coordinator guy who took over at times for Harbaugh?
Yeah, and
What do they
Sherrod
do?
Moore.
Yeah,
Yeah, does he take over full time? Do they like the job he did? Do they say no? We have to go after a big name to keep this up.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talked about that before this week happened. That if he did indeed leave, that would be the big. That would be the big first domino to fall, and
Who, who
so
knew it
instead,
was gonna be our own?
instead it was Nick Saban was the first one to
Yeah,
fall, and now we're seeing it. And um, interesting enough too, because a lot of things I read were that DeBoer would have been Michigan's first choice too. So
Mm.
maybe we beat him
Which,
to the punch.
which is
Uh,
excellent.
but we'll see. Yeah. Other college football notes. I had another one. Oh, Cam Ward, after flirting with the draft,
Going to
he
Miami now.
he did end up at Miami. Like kind of first thought. Huge for Miami. It's a great get for Mario
That
Cristobal
is
and the
huge.
Hurricanes. Um,
Absolutely.
let's see if that because I think Cristobal is probably getting to that point now in his tenure where they're got like, all right, man, like,
It's time to win or go. They're
yeah,
getting antsy down there a
like
little bit.
let that show. Yeah, let's give
Yeah.
us something to show for it here.
Yeah.
Um,
Good for him. I guess they stuck with it, even though he said he was going pro. Obviously, Cristobal said,
mhm.
"Well, you sure? Hey, we're still here."
Yeah, so I'm
And
guessing
we
he
know
got a
they
good
did.
little NIL thing there.
Yeah, I'm sure they got plenty of money in Miami,
Mhm.
as they've had forever.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a little NIL stuff, maybe not the draft grade that maybe he thought he's wanting. But either way, like I
Yeah,
said, huge get for Miami.
man, absolutely.
Huge for Mari Cristobal, 12-13 so far in his
Hmm.
young tenure at Miami. So he's going to need a big,
A big 2024 for
a
sure.
big
That's a good start.
2024, especially when you consider. I'm pretty sure that they opened the year with the Florida Gators. That is it. Yeah.
Is that their first? Oh,
It isn't
that's
indeed in Gainesville too.
mm,
A big rivalry, rarely played these
hmm
days because these schools legitimately just do not like each other.
Yeah, it's
Um,
quiet. Yeah, you don't hear about it as much, but the story, but you realize, man, that's as if not more
mm-hmm,
heated than Florida State, Miami, Florida State. I mean, it's right there. The Yeah, I haven't I realized that it was such a big thing, but yeah, it's quite the a lot of hatred between the two
mm-hmm,
programs. And with these, and yeah, you don't want to either one of the coaches. You don't want to be the loser of that game to start off the 24 season. We already
mm-mm,
both are kind of on that part where hey, Billy definitely,
mm-hmm.
yikes, you would think if he doesn't have at least a bowl appearance in 24 that he'd be out in Gainesville.
Yeah.
And who knows with Cristobal. So yeah, definitely not an early season test that you don't want to be on the losing end because that's gonna be a very long week afterwards for either program.
No, yeah, no. Funny enough, that's something we didn't mention too with DeBoer at Alabama. His first year schedule is going to be he's got to get his hires right, and because
Oh yeah, yeah,
there's
absolutely.
is an unforgiving schedule. You know, that first
Hmm.
month you got to go to Wisconsin at Camp Randall,
Yeah,
tough place to play.
yeah,
And Luke Fickle's second year, they should improve.
yeah,
Then Georgia comes to Bryant Denny at the end of the
yeah.
month, and then you also have road games at Tennessee, LSU, and Oklahoma.
Oof.
Um, it's a rough schedule
Missouri,
next year. Yeah,
Missouri's on the schedule. They're
yeah. Missouri
gotten better.
jumps onto the schedule, and then of course you have the Iron Bowl.
Mm.
So yeah, but yeah, I think that should do it for our college talk. I don't think, yeah, we mentioned all the other coaches getting paid. Jimmy Sexton, who
Mm.
basically reps half the coaches in the country.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what
Yeah,
he does.
he is. Yeah, and it's funny. Usually, you think about this time of year, it's like, okay, well, maybe we got signing day coming up, and then college football chill out for a little bit. Nah, not anymore.
No, with
Um,
the portal
let's
and
see.
everything. Oof.
Yeah. But so moving on, to the NFL again. We're now what 30
Just
about
got
30
into
minutes
the
into our show,
playoffs.
and oh hey, the greatest coach in NFL history, maybe he's not going to be with the Patriots
It's not gonna
anymore.
be the Patriots.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, we're still not even to the playoffs yet because Bill Belichick and
Yeah.
mutually agreed to leave
Um,
New England.
mm,
They had the press conference. Everything seemed amicable.
yeah.
I'm sure it's painful on both ends.
Yeah.
But Belichick, he's not retiring. He wants to keep coaching. He wants to catch John. Don Shula. He's like what, about 20, 26, something like that, wins away from him.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's
and
within
we'll
reach.
see. Yeah, we'll see where he goes. There is no shortage of coach openings for him. Atlanta, Carolina. We already mentioned the Chargers, by the way. I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll want to talk to Belichick. Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
Carolina, Las Vegas, Seattle, the Titans firing Mike Vrabel, which is completely weird and out of left field. And I know they had a bad year this year, but
Yeah.
you got to imagine he's going to be a sought after coach as well. And then Washington
Honestly, I
also.
thought. Honestly, I was, good for the. I was good for the Patriots going a different direction than I would have thought. I thought Vrabel was going to walk into that position as after
Exactly. Yeah.
Belichick, and
Mhm. Yeah, when you saw Tennessee fired him instead of trading him too, that's a weird thing because they still had contract years for variable. And
yeah,
I know the
yeah.
guys at the Alabama Slam, a couple of them are Titans fans, and
Oh man, yeah,
Corey and they had words for the Titans ownership this past week on their episode,
yeah.
and they were not kind words. But yeah, so that's a lot of openings. So and hell, there might be more to come with some playoff departures.
Yeah, I mean, if
You're I
things
was about
go
to
as
say
is, oh,
your Cowboys right now, like we said, we are recording this. It is about 5:45 Central
it's
Time
not
right
looking good
now.
at all.
Is it what 34-10 still?
Yeah,
The
34-10.
Packers, yeah, Packers in Dallas. Not the way. Really, I don't think anybody envisioned that happening. And
Mm.
I mean, would you want to see McCarthy gone if this stands up like this?
You know, it's, the thing is, who who are we gonna bring in somebody that definitely gets us over the top?
Hmm.
Obviously, McCarthy's a heck of a regular season. He's the first Cowboy coach that ever went to three 12 games 3 times in a row. I
Hmm.
mean, it's impressive. It's a heck of a regular season guy. Of course, that's not what we're here for. We're here for playoffs, Super Bowls. And honestly, the main thing what I'd be disappointed about this year is this was the perfect year for Dallas, considering there's not an elite. I mean, San Francisco's close, but we wouldn't have
Hmm.
seen them till the NFC title game.
Hmm.
So this is a perfect year to at least get to that part of the season. Not saying the other teams aren't good, but it's not like it's not. There's nobody that I was thinking, man, that we don't have a chance against. And to come out like this, I mean, Dak's throwing some terrible picks. CD Lamb doesn't seem to be into it. The defense is just getting slaughtered all game. Some of that's on Dan Quinn as well. I don't know at this point. And I just don't know. But then Jerry's, he talks a lot, but he seems like a patient guy. I mean, he had Garrett for how many years? 8 and 8. So
Hmm.
I don't know. He seems
That's true.
he's way more
Yeah.
patient than what he lets on in his interviews. I mean,
Hmm.
he's gonna give you a crazy quote, but he seems to be more patient than what people think.
I was about to say, particularly, it seems like a lot more patient than what some Cowboys fans would like.
No, yeah,
But yeah, so that that's again talk about dominoes within the college game. That's what we're looking for in the
yeah,
pro
in the
game.
program.
Belichick and Harbaugh, probably the first two big ones. Again, I mentioned Vrabel's
Mm-hmm.
a very highly thought of coach.
Yeah,
Of course, we did mention New England immediately filled their position. You mentioned Gerard Mayo, longtime assistant there under Belichick. He steps into that role. Congratulations to him.
a lot of work to do.
Uh, yeah, a lot of work to do there. Step one, figure out your quarterback situation.
Yeah,
um,
I would assume you have to get someone. What are they? The twos? I think ended up the twos. Are they going to get the
third pick,
two
I
or
think they got
third?
the third
Okay,
pick. Yeah, I
third.
think it's going to be the Bears, then Washington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. Um, would you take Belichick in Dallas?
I mean, it'd be interesting. I mean, I just don't know. I was, I've heard that he would take the job, but do him and Jerry get along? I don't
Hmm.
know. I mean, they're amicable off the field, but you know. I mean, we've had Parcells with Jerry, and no one thought that would ever work. I don't know if it
Yeah.
did necessarily work. I mean, it was a weird relationship, but
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. The only thing with that, I don't know if he makes us any better than what we are.
Mm.
You know, I don't know. You know, does he have something the mojo to get us over the hump, the playoff hump? Because obviously we're fine in the regular season. That's not the
Mm-hmm.
concern of making the playoffs or not. And Dak almost threw another pick. Jeez. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's interesting thing with Belichick because, like you said, it seems his main motivation is getting past Don Shula. So you would think he's not going to go somewhere. He's got to
He
rebuild
doesn't
like
have
a
a chance. Yeah, he's not going to
Carolina or
Carolina.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not going to
But
Carolina.
also the other piece of that puzzle is, does he still want like total control like he's had in New England, where he's the
Right.
GM, he's the guy that makes personnel decisions,
Exactly.
or is it going to be like, yeah, like if he goes to Dallas, he's not getting that. Jones
Yeah.
and his guys, they have their team, their
Right.
scouting and personnel team.
He's, yeah.
Does that work for him? Does he maybe
Right.
scale back and say, you know what, yeah, I'm just going to coach football for these next few years, and so we'll see.
It's yeah. You would think. I mean, I guess it all depends on where it goes. I mean, it seems like
Yeah.
teams are starting to get away from that player GM because more
Hmm.
times than not that hasn't gone well. I mean, it worked
No.
for Belichick for a good amount of time. Ended badly for Bill O'Brien. It's
Hmm.
ended badly for other. I mean, it's just too much to do. I mean, you're on
Hmm.
field stuff, then you're doing the off field stuff, and then if a player. I mean, when you're coaching, it's already stressful enough for these players. With their contract situations, and not only do you coach, but then you're also the GM, so they're coming to you and be, "Hey, bro, we're
Hmm.
signing." And so I mean, that's a tough situation to be in for both, and it's just too much going on.
Yeah. Elsewhere, again, we mentioned Pete Carroll was actually the first one to. I guess it's a retirement. He's stepping down. He's staying with Seattle in an advisory role of sorts, but it
Hmm.
didn't seem like he necessarily closed the door on coaching again.
Yeah,
Um, so that could be interesting. Um, and it's a shame for him because at least I know in our lifetimes, and especially since 2000, he's one of the best coaches in the game.
he really is.
Didn't had struggled in the NFL at first. He was actually the guy the Patriots fired before they hired
Hmm.
Belichick.
Yeah,
Um, and then USC took a chance on him, and lo and behold, he created the first dynasty of the century.
yeah.
Um, Left there, went to Seattle, and was very successful. Created the Legion of Boom. Should have had two Super Bowls if they had just kept
Hmm.
running Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Um, but a consistently good franchise for a
Hmm.
decade plus now. Um, where does he rank for your kind of all time coaches, at least, within our lifetime or, wherever?
I mean, he's got to be somewhere. I mean, you'd have to put him in the top five. I mean,
Hmm.
he wanted. I mean, it's very few that succeed in the NFL and the college level. And not only succeed, I mean, he's won a Super Bowl, he's won a national title,
Hmm.
been in quite a few national title games as we know, been to a few Super Bowls. So I mean,
Hmm.
he's a heck of a coach. I mean, he's been in Seattle forever now. Um, I would have to put him in the top five for sure. Just what he's done. He might be one of the
Hmm.
more underappreciated coaches just because he's in that Northwest,
Hmm.
in Seattle, kind of not a. I mean, it's a bigger market, but I mean, it's not really one that the media is just all over. So
Yeah, it was kind of a no, you're right. He kind of, like I said, that they didn't get that second Super Bowl, which that he's not an offense guy, so that wasn't his call. But yeah, if you keep running Lynch there instead of throwing that slant, he scores.
he beats the
Um,
Patriots.
he beats Patriots and Belichick. He gets himself back to back rings,
Yeah.
which that would give him two Super Bowls. He had two national title rings. He won those back to back in '03.
Hmm.
The
Oh,
split
yeah, the
title with
split title. That's right.
with LSU
Yeah.
before the Rose Bowl,
Well, he
changed
was
their
on the verge of
ways.
a three-peat because I mean
Yeah, if
they
not for
did they
Vince Young, yeah,
three-peated.
if not for Vince Young, he three-peats. The first team
Wow.
since Minnesota in the '40s to do that.
Jeez. Yeah.
Um, didn't make another title game, but yeah, I think his legacy is a little understated because of the way USC he just kind of left abruptly. They went on, there's the probation, the Reggie Bush stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
you saw the impact it had because once he left, I mean, they've been in the
They
wilderness ever since.
right.
Um,
And they've come out a little bit of times, but yeah, nothing,
yeah,
nothing consistent ever. Right.
no, I mean they've never made a college football playoff.
Haven't been in playoffs. Haven't
Yeah,
been.
a
I think
couple
they've been to a
Pac-10
couple
titles, a couple
BCSs.
Rose Bowls. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, New Year's Six games, but yeah, nothing to what USC people expect. I mean, they're one of those programs,
yeah.
yay or nay, that feels like, hey, we should be a title contender every year.
Hmm.
But
And then he parted ways with uh um Russell Wilson. No, I was blanking there for a
yeah,
second. And had success with Geno Smith last year,
yeah.
great year, and then even this past season they didn't
See,
make the playoffs, but they were right on the verge of making it.
yeah, and then they obviously came out on top of that whole trade.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
that's
they
one of the most lopsided trades in the past 30 years in the NFL.
exactly.
So yeah, we'll see where Seattle goes in there. We'll see if Carroll is indeed done coaching. He's 72, just like Saban and
Hmm.
Belichick. 71. They're all right there at that same age.
Right. Yeah. It depends
Um,
on, I guess, what's going on in your personal life. I can't say I know much about Pete outside of
oof,
football. So I mean, I don't know his grandkids, or I'm sure he has some.
yeah,
You know, do you want to have more time just for that? I mean, I guess if he's
mhm,
more in an advisory role for the team, I would allow
mhm,
that more. Or, maybe he's happy with that move. Who
mhm.
knows?
Yeah.
But I think also he's the guy that would want to walk into, if he does come back to coach and wants to walk into a situation he sees a chance to, have immediate success. I mean, I don't think he's looking to rebuild and, 4 or 5 years down the road, finally make the playoffs or anything like that.
Mm-mm. No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
seems like he would go maybe, if anything, put lured him back to the sideline to be a chance to win a ring right away.
yeah, I mean, it has to be
Uh,
someone on the cusp
and
of being great.
yeah, do the dream of all coaches, which is to go out on top.
Yeah.
Which I don't even think we talked about that part with Saban retiring. That makes that Rose Bowl loss hurt even more to know that we could have beat them, then maybe beat Washington, and then go out
Yeah.
on
Instead of
top.
winning out as champion. I mean, yeah.
That would have been very fitting. But
Yeah.
as you
Exactly.
go, going quick detour back to college too. One thing actually, no, I'll save it. Never mind. I'll save that for at the end of the episode. I got it. So now, 40 minutes in the recording, we got to finally talk about the NFL
The
playoffs.
NFL playoff.
um, two
Wow.
games
Yeah.
yesterday. The Browns went into Houston, favored. A lot of people thought they'd go in there and beat the Texans. First year head coach D'Amico Ryans, rookie QB CJ Stroud. They had Joe Flacco, kind of had a resurgence, a great month for them. I thought maybe they were getting playoff Joe. Nah,
No, they got old
the
Joe Flacco. Many of us know.
they got regular season 2016 Joe.
Yeah.
Um, not pretty, back to back pick sixes at one point.
Oof.
And a signature. I wasn't watching a game during the first one. A friend was texting about it, and he said, "Oh, there's a Flacco pick six," and I was like, "Let me guess, were they driving too?" And he's like, "Yep, it was thrown inside the 20 and taken back for a
Hmm.
touchdown." I'm like, that sounds like the Flacco that I remember starting to, his ability starting to fade. Again, as
Yeah.
someone, a Ravens fan, I love Joe Flacco. It's not to diminish the man, and playoff Joe is a real thing. There is no one with more road playoff victories than Joe Flacco. Him and Tom Brady are tied with the most road playoff victories.
That's crazy.
That 2012, the Super Bowl run, literally one of, if not the best quarterback or playoffs for a quarterback in the history of the game.
Yeah.
But he definitely did start missing a beat in his later years. There's a reason the
Mm-hmm.
Ravens drafted and then switched to Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
as great as the story it was for a month, it's rough. And
That's
that's
an
not to say
ugly.
he's the sole reason they lost that game.
Yeah.
Houston beat them in every facet of the game.
Phew. Yeah, Houston came
Their
out.
defense could not shut down Stroud and company.
And I was surprised about that because I mean that was whether the Flacco was having a good game or not. The whole thing was Flacco was just supposed to keep them alive because that defense was something special in Cleveland, and they demolished that defense, just threw all over them,
Yeah.
ran off. I mean, they just. I was shocked just how bad the Browns defense looked yesterday.
Yeah, and I know the postseason isn't supposed to factor into awards, but if I'm a voter right now, that cinches it up that D'Amico should be Coach of the Year over
Oh,
Stefanski.
absolutely.
Again, like Stefanski, great job. They started 4 different quarterbacks this year, but again, a lot of people predicted them to win the AFC North, to make the
Yeah,
playoffs. We knew their defense was going to be the best in the league before the season, and it turned out. So
yeah,
D'Amico
and
came
that's
out of
a
nowhere. Yeah.
and that's another thing. Just how talk about bad trades. I mean, just how Houston fleeced Cleveland. Oh
Oh,
my goodness!
yeah. Yeah, that was another key
Just
thing. Yeah,
wide
a lot of
open.
those players making plays for Houston
Jesus.
were because of that trade.
Yeah.
And then, so congratulations. They will go on. No, we don't know, of course, yet where they will play because the NFL reseeds their playoffs after the first round, which I really wish
Hmm.
all the sports leagues would do. It's
Yeah,
such a
they
great
really
idea.
should.
Well, and it really makes you earning those top seeds mean
Means
something,
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Just wide
Um,
open. This is ugly. Oh, sorry. Oh,
and, again, we
this.
were watching this during the Cowboys Packers game, and
Oh my God. I
oh,
say.
us,
Yeah.
you were about 2 seconds ahead of me because I was like, oh,
Yeah.
who's wide open, and then I see it.
Yeah.
Oof.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
And I think and time flipping to the Cowboy game real quick because we were talking about the coaching
Mhm,
change. There's some that were saying, Mike McCarthy would lose a close game,
mhm,
maybe, but I think he had 41-16 at home,
mhm.
with then
Yeah.
possible another playoff game next week at home. I think Jerry's gonna cut everybody because I mean it's
Uh,
not all on him, but
but
and
you
then
can't get this touchdown will make it 41-16, and it's only the third
41 to
quarter
16.
still.
Yeah,
You're at
it's but
home. You fought back to win your division and get a 2 seed. So,
yeah,
like you said, you should have at least 2 home games.
yeah.
You
And
can't
this
lose
is
it to this.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is. I mean they, and
There's
for
a shot
whatever
of
reason we
Jerry not
can't
looking
beat the
happy.
yeah. I mean we can't beat the Packers to save our lives, but I mean a lot of that was with Aaron Rodgers. I
Mhm.
mean Jordan Love is an up and coming quarterback, but man, this shouldn't be like that
Yeah,
this year.
up and coming, not up in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's rough.
Uh, yeah.
If of course, and barring the biggest comeback in the sports history,
Yeah.
um, it looks like, yeah, like you said, Dallas will be eliminated early, and maybe another coach position opens up.
Yeah.
The As a 7 seed, the Packers, we do know that if they win, they will go to San Francisco next week.
Mm,
Speaking of, it's like
yeah.
the '90s all over again, man. Packers, Cowboys, Packers,
Yeah.
Niners.
Yeah.
um, Yesterday, the other game that we saw, the Dolphins.
Mm,
As we talked about last week, that was the only game that we hadn't seen them and the Bills. The Bills did indeed win, which made the Dolphins the 6th seed. They went to Kansas City with negative 30-degree wind chills. Andy
yeah.
Reid's
It's brutal
mustache
out there.
freezing up.
Yeah.
Um, and they got dominated. Chiefs won. It
Mm,
was kind of ugly. It wasn't what you're used to seeing with the Chiefs, but they ran the ball
mm,
hard. They made
mm,
plays. It was a hard hitting game. Pat Mahomes' helmet got broken at one point.
yeah. I mean, you just knew though that just with how cold it was going to be, that no matter how, d- I mean, this is
Mhm,
obviously the least dominating Chiefs team in quite some time. But just with the
mhm.
temperature and Arrowhead and everything, you knew this Miami team, based on how they ended the season, was not going to come in there and win yesterday.
Yeah,
You
we
just,
talked about
I
that
mean,
last week. That we thought
yeah.
that Miami needed that win last week in the
Oh yeah, they
division
needed
more
it
than
badly
Buffalo.
for sure.
Um, We were wrong about the seeding. If Buffalo or if Miami had won, Buffalo would not have gone to
They
KC.
would,
They
yeah,
would have
they would
actually
have.
been the 7th seed, and Pittsburgh would have gone to KC last night.
Interesting.
But yeah, either way, Kansas City wins. Like I said, that's not necessarily the KC that we're used to seeing the past few years, but a win is a win. They're the 3
Yeah.
seed. They will not go to Baltimore. We know that much. So they will either host, let's see, the Texans if the Steelers win tomorrow, or they will go to Buffalo if the Bills win tomorrow. Of course, that game was supposed to happen today. Steelers at Bills, the 2-7 matchup,
The
but
weather.
the blizzard, whiteout blizzard in Buffalo, pushed that game to tomorrow now, or
Weird.
Monday, or
4:30 in the
or today as you're
4:30.
listening to this.
Yeah. 4:30 in the afternoon Monday.
Yeah.
And that just changed. That's just a weird time. And cause I mean they was yeah definitely blanketed there. They were offering $20 an hour to go in there to
Mhm.
help shovel the seats and the rows and the aisles.
Really?
Man, yeah,
Yeah, as I said, I imagine tomorrow will not be a very productive day in the city of Buffalo.
no. You have to think like that just changes your whole thing. Of course, obviously they were thinking of the health of the players, fans, everybody with all the snow and everything. But I mean, if you're, it changes a lot from a 1 o'clock on a Sunday to a 4:30 on a Monday, especially your work,
Mm-hmm.
kids, everything. And you still want to go to that game, you have tickets, like, but it changes how your day goes dramatically.
Yeah. Yeah, interested to see how it affects the two teams too.
Hmm.
Of course, the Bills big favorites, especially at home. But
Hmm.
Steelers have been hot the past month, but we'll see if they can keep up with Josh Allen and a Bills
Right,
team that's red hot in their own right.
right. But if the snow is obviously still gonna be there, obviously it's gonna be
Mhm.
very cold. This is perfect for the Steelers in the fact that
Mhm.
you expect the ugly game in the inclement weather. So I mean that fits right up the Steelers' alley. Ugly things
Yeah,
up, keep it
exactly.
close.
Keep it an ugly, sloppy rock fight as right up the
Right.
Steelers and Mike Tomlin's alley. The Bills a little bit better running the ball this year with
Hmm.
James Cook than they have been in the past. But yeah,
Right.
if the Steelers, that's definitely I think it's a little favorable for the Steelers to
Hmm.
that it might be a real
Keep it
slowed down,
interesting.
sloppy game. Yeah,
'Cause it's not like Seattle. I mean, sorry, it's not like Pittsburgh isn't used hasn't seen this type of weather. I mean, it's not like they're like,
exactly.
oh my
Yeah,
God, it's snowing. So
yeah, they're not afraid of that cold.
yeah.
Team that would be afraid of the cold, but luckily they're playing in a dome. The Jared Goff, Matt Stafford Bowl tonight.
Mm. That's
The
an interesting
Rams.
one.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching that game here in a little bit.
Hopefully, it lives up to the hype because this hasn't.
Uh-huh. No, yeah, yeah, not a
You
good
have
weekend
your
if not a good weekend for close games
no,
if you're the NFL front office there.
no.
And
But
then of
you
course,
would,
go ahead.
I mean, just on sorry on today's game. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, you have the line. I mean, Stafford finally got out of Detroit,
Hmm.
um, and you have of course Goff. The Rams gave up on him, and so. He kind of finds a place in Detroit. It's be interesting to see how the crowd treats Stafford. I think it's his first time back in Detroit since he left.
Hmm.
So that'll be interesting. And then if Goff can get the win over his former team, and they thought he couldn't be the guy, even though he took him to a Super Bowl. I mean, that'd be I think, a huge win
Hmm.
for him. So that'd be an interesting one to
Yeah,
bet.
that would be. And that you like you said, Ford Field is going to be just absolutely
Oh
batshit.
man. Oh wow.
It's going to be loud. They're going to be hyped up. Excited to see what crazy shit Dan Campbell has lined up.
Yeah.
And but yeah, coming on against a Rams team that won the Super Bowl just 2 years ago and
Hmm.
getting hot in their own right, headed into the
Yeah, they are. They're playing
playoffs.
well.
So should be a fun one. And of course, tomorrow night, Eagles at Bucks. In a game that you look at initially, think, okay, the Eagles should go in there and win that, and yeah, they should,
Uh,
but they have been struggling lately, and the Bucks teams,
struggling.
they're tenacious. The Bucks team,
Mm,
didn't run away, needed tiebreakers to win that NFC South, but hey, they're in the playoffs. Baker
they're in the
Mayfield is
playoffs. Got a home game.
he's a wild card, and yeah, they got a home. It's at home.
No, I mean, going in, I honestly, I think I'm almost shocked if Philly wins down there, just with how Philly come into this game. They're not going to have their wide receiver. He's out with the knee thing.
Yeah,
And
no
obviously
AJ
things,
Brown. That's huge.
yeah, and obviously things aren't were bad even before because supposedly I didn't check to see, but supposedly he took down all his affiliation on social media with the Eagles. So
Mm,
things are, I don't know what's going on with that, but it's just funny, they so dominant for the first half of the season, and after
mm-hmm.
that was it the 49er game? They really
It has
haven't.
been weird,
I mean,
yeah. It's been a weird
they
second half of the season for them. The whole
yeah,
defensive coordinator thing,
yeah,
and um, it's weird, yeah. What's going on behind the scenes that we don't even know? Maybe they're in Philly,
uh,
but we'll see. And of course, next weekend, like we said, the Ravens and 49ers enter the fray. Of course, again, barring a miracle, it looks like the Niners will host the Packers.
hmm
The Ravens will host the lowest seed remaining in the AFC. So, like we said, that could it'll either be the Steelers or the Texans going to Baltimore. If the Steelers pull the upset, they're going to Baltimore. Which, ugh,
yeah.
even though that offense isn't that good, and
I
it's
don't
no
know.
more,
Just
it,
I would,
I don't want to watch that. I don't want that game. That's no
yeah,
Ravens fans want. It's and if they
no,
are, they're putting on a fake show, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can avenge the sweep."
no.
No,
I don't.
that's like exactly like if you were a Duke or UNC fan, you did not want to see that game in the Final Four a
No,
couple years ago.
yeah,
If you're an
no,
Alabama fan, you do not want to play Auburn in the playoff, not because you're scared of
no.
them, just because of
Just
the way that
because,
game is, the nature of that
yeah,
game. Yeah,
nature of
I've
the game.
never had a fun time watching. Actually, I can count two Raven Steelers games that were fun, and one
Yeah.
was a 35 nothing blowout to start the season in like 2011, 2012, 2013, one of those
hmm
years. Um, and the other was a wild card game in 2014 when the Ravens kind of kicked their teeth into there. Um,
hmm
and that was it. Yeah, don't want to see that.
Just,
Much rather the
just,
Texans, even though they're looking good. I'd rather see
like,
them next weekend than
yeah,
Steelers Ravens
yeah.
playoff
Just
matchup.
because, for whatever reason, they have you guys' number. For whatever reason, it
It
is
is, yeah. The Steelers,
weird.
yeah. Lately, it's the tide had turned for a while. It was kind
Yeah.
of early on in the Harbaugh Flacco era. The Steelers, had the number. They won a couple playoff games. The big
hmm
time the '08 ASC title game, that big hits from Hines Ward and
Yeah.
Ray Lewis and that hard hitting affair, and then beat them in a divisional round a few years later. And then kind of the mid, starting with the Super Bowl year and really kind of most of the last decade, the 2010s, the Ravens kind of dominated the rivalry.
Yeah, they
Um,
did.
and then, but the last four seasons or so, I think Steelers are 7-1 versus the Ravens.
Yeah,
They always make Lamar play horrible games.
they do. I don't know what it is. No matter how good of a season's having, yeah, something
mm,
I don't know what happens to that
no,
kid.
yeah,
But
but yeah, but yeah, that should be it for our NFL news here. Like we said, you're just waiting, for this one to become official. That good Rams Lions game tonight, and then tomorrow we'll
yeah.
see Steelers Bills and
hmm
Eagles Bucks, and then we'll see what this week has to come for any
Big news.
head coach. Yeah, it does look like Las Vegas, their interim coach Pierce, might be the favorite to. He just might
What?
get promoted to full time head
Yeah.
coach, which seems
Yeah,
like the players want.
they should have. Honestly, they probably should have done that a couple years ago. When they had who was it, the special teams coach, and he took them to the playoff. I
Yeah.
can't think of his name. A long
Uh,
time
I know who
guy.
you're thinking of. I just can't.
He
Yeah.
might still be on the staff. And then they passed over for him for Josh McCown, and of course, that didn't work out at all. And so hopefully they learn something from that. And sometimes you just got to go with the new guy. You know, going to recycling the same names over and over doesn't work a lot of the time. You have to think outside the box sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd say definitely, give Antonio a shot. I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
made them, he's kept them competitive in a season that they could have easily just tanked. I mean, they could have easily said, "Screw this." You know, they've there it wasn't the easy out playing the Raiders this year at all.
Mm-mm.
So I would hope that they go that route just because why not? There's not anybody that I could say, oh, he definitely stepped in and be a great for sure, a definite winner. So I,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Let's move to the hardwood now. We'll start real quick at the NBA. Nothing major. The biggest story, well, kind of major, but John Morant is now out for the season with a shoulder injury.
yeah, just
Shame for
understand that.
Memphis. Yeah, he came back, and that first couple weeks he was hot. Memphis looked like a completely different team with him.
Yeah,
They
hate
did
to
have
see it,
they had a lot of work to do to get in a playoff or even a play-in position, but
but
yeah, maybe now you just kind of subtly tank and get a good lottery
yeah,
pick and
yeah.
add some more pieces there.
Yeah, the only thing that I really don't like about him getting hurt like that, this he'll have more free time. He's had those issues. Hopefully, he stays clean of any situation that could further hurt his image. But
Yeah, let's hope that he is indeed hanging around the right crowd.
uh,
But yeah, Draymond Green returns from his suspension. It looks like Monday.
hmm
He'll be back. Not sure if that's will really help the Warriors. Speaking of teams struggling,
they're not. Yeah, they're not doing it.
no, we briefly talked about it, but yeah, the big three that everyone thought in the West, outside of course of the defending champs, the Nuggets who are
Yeah,
rolling along, they're fine.
like the Suns, the Lakers, and the Warriors. Yikes.
All just big time struggling.
Yeah,
And like in danger of not even making the play in. Um,
yeah,
I
that
mean,
would be bad.
somebody's got to, I guess, but it's looking rough.
Yeah, that
Right
was just
now,
horrible.
right now the Lakers on the outside looking in, the Warriors on the
Yeah.
outside looking in, the Suns are clinging, but only 2 games ahead.
hmm
If there's any benefit to it, it's that like we said, the Spurs are down there at the bottom. They'll hold into that. As good as Wimby's playing, they just don't have the
They don't have the
roster
guys.
for it. The
They don't have the guys around. Bama.
Trailblazers are busy getting beat by 30 points every night.
What was the score the other night? The Port was
To Thunder, they lost. It was, I think,
see.
the fifth, something like that, biggest margin in NBA history,
Yeah,
62,
you
64
don't
points.
you don't want to be on that.
Um, they've lost. They literally have lost their last 3 games. I saw today by an average of 34 points.
Jeez
It
Louise.
is rough in Portland.
Yeah,
And then, of course, we mentioned Ja being out really hurts Memphis.
yeah.
So, hey, that pretty much means that at least one of the teams we just mentioned, the Suns, Lakers, and Warriors, will at least make the play in.
Make them play in.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but they all three had much higher aspirations, and who knows, maybe they
Oh,
can
for
still
sure.
turn it around. But with the trade deadline coming up, that's
hmm
we'll see. And elsewhere, just my Pelicans beat your Mavericks last night.
They did. They did.
They did.
No,
The
no
Pelicans
Luca
starting.
though.
No, look, that's true. Hey, we'll take it.
No Luca, but hey,
Career
a
high
win is a
for
win. But
rookie Jordan Hawkins, 34.
damn, he dropped 34 last night. I was like, wow.
Looking good. Good bounce back after
Yeah.
for them after a loss to the Nuggets earlier in the week. But like they themselves also beat the Warriors by 30 some points early in the week.
hmm Yeah,
But
Herb
no,
Jones had a big game last night too. I was like, good for
mm-hmm,
her because you guys were sending a lot of people. And then fairly, you guys had a lot of people out as well and still able to
mm-hmm,
get the win there. Herb Jones had a good game, so
mm-hmm.
I was. You guys are a fun young team there. I enjoy watching
Yeah.
you guys. And when y'all are healthy, man, y'all
Healthy, yeah. When they're
can be
healthy and they
special.
figure out their rotations, yeah. There's a lot of
It can be
guys there that can
special.
contribute.
Yeah,
And they'll do it again in Dallas tomorrow
yeah,
afternoon. It looks like
yeah, yeah.
that's a weird time for a game, 1:30 on a
It
Monday.
is.
Huh.
Well, I guess it's Martin Luther King Day, and
Yeah,
they
that's true.
usually have
Yeah,
some
they'll have.
NBA games on TNT, I think. But yeah, makes more sense. At least I'm sure some kids
Mm-hmm.
will be out of school, so the parents will take them. And
Yeah, as far as anything else in the league goes, Pistons and Wizards made a small trade. Pistons send Marvin Bagley, Isaiah Livers, 2 second-round picks to the Wizards for Danilo Gallinari,
mm-hmm.
Mike Muscala. Those are expiring contracts.
Right.
They're probably Pistons look like they're making moves for this summer.
Yeah.
That maybe they'll get another high draft pick, or it looks like
Yeah.
obviously they will, and then they'll maybe try to add a big free agent or something via
Right.
trade.
Something.
Um, Other than that, still just rumors so far. We had the OG and OB trade a couple weeks ago, but
Yeah.
Golden State looks like they'll be in for Pascal Siakam. Um, that would be a good get for them. We'll see how much. Apparently, a lot of teams are hitting the Hawks up about DeJounte Murray.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw
Um,
that. That'd be a hot name.
mhm. uh, Kawhi Leonard signed an extension earlier this week
That was a huge extension.
for the Clippers. Yeah, over 3 years and 153 million. It's
I was like, wow.
yeah.
And
Um,
just with, when he's healthy, he's an elite player, but that's a big if.
mhm,
So far this season, he's been healthy, but you just don't know what you're going to get from him.
mm-mm, yeah. So yeah, yeah, it's where we are in the NBA season right now. Is
Yeah,
teams about to line up? It's trade season before
yeah,
the All Star game.
figuring
Teams
out,
trying to add those pieces to make their spring
right?
pushed for the
They're
playoffs.
figuring out if they indeed need to make a move. If they
Hmm.
feel that they're maybe a piece away from being a contender, but what
Hmm.
those pieces are. I think the East is way more normal than the Western Conference. All the
Hmm.
big dogs in the East are doing what they do, and that'll be a fun playoff. The West is just weird. Minnesota's the one, and there's a whole
Hmm.
bunch of teams that are okay, but who knows who's good out in the West for sure, other than Minnesota. So there's just a lot of. Oh, of
Hmm.
course, Denver, but and once they get to the
Yeah,
playoffs, but
and yeah,
there's
Denver seems like they're on cruise control right now too. Yeah.
yeah. But there's a lot of teams you're like they look good some nights and other nights they look terrible. That's been the Mavs season from my side. I know,
Hmm.
some weeks will look amazing, and then the next game will look. With no consistency there, so it'll be weird because other than Denver, if it comes to the playoffs, I couldn't. I don't think anybody is even close to being considered a favorite as far
No,
as
yeah, yeah,
winning
you're
this
right.
stuff.
Same thing. Watching New Orleans, it's one game. It's like, geez, guys, like this is what are we doing with our rotations? Like, why is
Yeah.
this guy getting this many minutes? Like, what are we doing here? What's the plan? And the next night, I mentioned they they lost to the Nuggets this week, but they beat the
Hmm.
Mavericks. They blew out
Yeah.
the Kings and Warriors in back-to-back
Hmm.
games. The
Yeah.
Kings are Kings are a good team. They beat them by 33
Yeah. For
points.
sure.
It's yeah, it's a weird season, like you said. It's
Yeah.
the Lakers won the in-season tournament. Everyone's like, oh yeah,
And
they're rounding into
they
shape, and
were
then since
horrible
then they have
since.
fallen off.
Yeah. It's like,
The Warriors
wow.
can't stay healthy. The Suns can't stay healthy.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's the Thunder. We haven't even mentioned them. That the
Oh,
league's
yeah,
youngest team, and they're just murdering people right now. It's like we
yeah,
mentioned this last
but
week, but SGA is looking like MVP candidate.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, and really, I mean, I mean, it's impressive what the Thunder. I mean, just the talent at different times that they've had in Oklahoma City. From they draft well. I mean, they hit the they rarely miss on their draft picks.
hmm
I mean, of course for us, KD, James Harden. They've had the SGA. I mean, man, they just amazing
Yeah,
what they do.
yeah,
That
and
front
then
office.
yeah, and then they have so many pieces going. Who knows? I mean, maybe they don't want to break up the chemistry, or maybe they decide to
Mm-hmm.
push in their chips. Being
And get a big
seeing now that they're a 2 seed, yeah, and get a real big piece to add. Some big veteran
right.
presence
Yeah.
there. Who knows?
Who knows?
It's about to be a very interesting time in the
Yeah.
NBA.
Yeah. Once
Um,
we get to around All Star break, it really picks up.
mhm. Yeah. Moving to the college hardwood. Our boys in Crimson had a really good week.
They
We
did.
we talked last week. They needed a strong start to SEC play, and they've done that.
They've done that.
Big
Yeah.
win versus South Carolina, and then a big road win yesterday, going to Starkville and
Yeah.
winning a tough
Yeah.
game against State.
Exactly.
Uh, 3-0 in conference. Only the Tide and Auburn Tigers are 3-0 in the
Yeah.
SEC. Everyone else has
Amazing.
suffered at least one loss already. Um,
Yeah. I'm happy. Came out and
mhm.
dominated South Carolina. That second half just blew the doors off
Oh
of
yeah.
the Gamecocks. And that was a team that came into Coleman with only one loss on the season. We don't know really how good the Gamecocks really were because they haven't played
hmm
the toughest of schedules, but we really took it to them, and then got a gritty win last night on the road there.
hmm
Mark Sears really took over that second half.
hmm Yeah,
But
a strong close in a game that was back and forth.
yeah,
First
that's
half
what I
was back
wanted
and
to
forth.
see.
A slow start. Then they battled back in
Hmm.
the first half to take the lead. Kind of got up big. Then State battled back.
Hmm.
It was just kind of like that all the way down to the last 5 or so minutes, and then we
Hmm.
kind of stretched
Holding
our
on.
lead out. Scored the last 8 points in the game after
Yeah,
a 74 all tie, and then won 82-74. Didn't allow
yeah,
State to score anymore. Sears scored 22. He continues to lead the SEC in scoring.
yeah. He had a
Like you said, it was
huge
a
second half,
huge,
but I
yeah.
was,
Like you said, it
you
was a
know,
tough game too.
hmm and that's what I
Um,
wanted to see. Because that's been
mhm,
our thing. Can we figure out how to win?
mhm,
And not only how to win, but against a physical big team. And Mississippi State, that their physical is usually our kryptonite, and
mhm,
we hung with them. You know, uh, and the other thing I like too is guys when they're not the last couple of games, even if their offensive game is not coming through, they're still playing hard on the defensive end. Because the last couple of games, Nelson hasn't been great offensively, but his efforts there.
mhm,
Estrada didn't have a strong offensive performance last night, but his effort there was defensively. And
mhm,
we had some other guys in that first half. Latrell Wright, so he definitely stepped up and kept us in when Miss State got out to the early lead. Sears was a little off, and he carried the punch in the first half. So it was good to see someone else step up there.
mhm.
So I
No, and
like where we're going.
yeah, it's good to see the three starting to fall, and it's good.
Hmm.
We mentioned a few weeks ago we would have liked to see them beat one of those top 10 teams they played
Yeah,
in that one week, but they've won 5 in a row since those three
yeah.
losses. So they've
Maybe they
rebounded
learn.
well, and they've
Hmm.
started SEC play hot. They get Missouri on
At home,
Tuesday at home.
yeah, yeah.
Should be a win,
Should
but
win.
you can't overlook
Yeah,
anybody in this conference, and
no.
I'm
Just
sure they
after that, it
won't. And
picks up.
then yeah, and then a big one next week.
Two big
Saturday
ones.
at Tennessee. Yeah,
Then
at
Auburn.
Tennessee next Saturday, and then the first
Auburn
Iron
versus
Bowl of the
Auburn.
year. Yeah.
Whew. Yeah.
So that's huge. Yeah.
And that'll be a raucous crowd in Tuscaloosa because we'll get the
hmm
Iron Bowl trophy. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's when they'll be presented with the Iron Ball trophy. I do wonder if maybe this Tuesday, the Missouri game, is Kalen DeBoer will introduce himself to the faithful, as it were.
I would wait for the Auburn game. Just I
Yeah,
don't know, just for the extra punch.
yeah. Have him on, hand to,
Yeah.
especially if Coach Saban comes in there to help receive that
Oh
trophy
yeah.
too.
Oh,
It could be a
that would be
big,
a
real big
big
night.
night.
Uh,
Get the crowd into it. They'll be ready to
yeah,
go.
but
Because
yeah,
I
like
mean,
we
I'll
said.
never forget when Saban, his first game was against LSU that January, and boy, that boy was the only time I could say in our college career where you could not get in that bad boy. Coleman was packed
Absolutely packed
to the
out. Yeah.
rafters. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like we said, first things first, take care of business against Missouri on Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
Particularly pertinent because this week was the week of upsets in college basketball.
Was it? Yeah.
5 of the top 6 teams lost, not only lost, but all to unranked opponents.
Hmm.
Um, Purdue lost at Nebraska. Houston lost twice at Iowa State and TCU.
Yeah.
Kansas lost at UCF. Tennessee lost
Hmm.
at Mississippi State. Kentucky
Hmm.
lost at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
UConn was the only top 6 team to survive. Maybe
Yeah.
they're your new
Yeah.
number 1 team.
Um,
And then even today, number 10 Illinois went down to Maryland. It is not safe out there if
wow.
you're a top team.
No. Top 10 team. Been
Yeah.
a long week for those guys.
Yeah, it's notable that all of those losses were road losses too. Just tells you how
Tough.
home
Once you
courts
get in
home
that conference play,
home court
yeah,
matters. Yeah.
yeah,
The only one of those we mentioned, number 10 Illinois did lose at home today to Maryland. Um, but yeah, so yeah, just kind of we're getting to that. Once conference play starts, it's real in college hoops, and it's real now.
yeah, yeah. It's an exciting time.
Hmm um, and we may have gotten to the. I think we've gotten to the end of my notes. We have somehow packed everything in an hour
Unbelievable.
and 13 minutes of recording. That's
Unbelievable.
that's pretty good for us so
It's pretty
far.
good for the amount of stuff we had to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything we missed that you want to touch on?
Oh, man, I think we've hit everything. So.
Yeah. I'm refreshing my news pages here to make sure nothing else broke just now while we were recording.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah. I guess there was a upset on the female hardwood. Auburn
Yeah, Auburn
upset
beat LSU
LSU.
today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was in the plains,
in
wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
in the plains. Yeah.
The defending champs go down. So yeah, like we said, no top team is safe, not even on the women's side of the
Not at
game.
all.
Which how are the Tide women looking? I saw they won the other night.
They were up. I was watching the first half. We went, and then we got slaughtered in the second half against Arkansas today, which was
Mm,
shocking because we were up by 2.5, and we lost by like 20. I was like, what happened in the second
oh,
half? What? Yeah.
yeah,
I
well,
mean, they what? I think we're only three or four losses on the season. The main thing with the Alabama team is they win. They usually win games that they're supposed to win on the women's side, but they don't ever beat the big dogs. There's a lot
hmm
of big dogs in the SEC, so it's a
yeah,
tough road. I mean, we don't ever
two
really,
and two, yeah, 2-2 so far in the
yeah,
conference.
the SEC.
15 and
Yeah.
4 overall. Looking at their thing, one win over a top 20 team. They did beat Louisville earlier in the year, so
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
They are the next. They get what will be an angry LSU team in Tuscaloosa
Mm.
on Thursday
Yikes.
night. Looks like.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I guess that should be it. I'm scouring here. Yeah, I don't think I missed anything. There was nothing too big going on in Major League Baseball offseason this year.
No, not right now.
Your Yankees got Marcus Stroman for a
Hmm.
couple years. The Braves extended their GM Alex Anthopoulos. Um, Yeah, that's about it. All right. Well, that said, Greg, what has been done up real good for you then?
I'm pretty excited, and some people are like, yeah, right, you're just saying that because you're a fan. I'm overly excited with the hire.
Hmm
Kalen DeBoer. I think it's as good as what you can expect coming from where we've been with Nick Saban. So it was a stressful week, but I think it went as well as possible. So I think that's my big thing for the week. Also, it's been super cold here. Still alive, even with the. I think, I think we might get above freezing on Wednesday for the first time in
Oh,
like 5 or 6 days. So, I mean,
man.
above zero. Excuse me. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
oh,
yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
cold. Oh,
that kind of cold.
oh man. No, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So, further, yeah, gives me motivation. Maybe start looking for jobs in the South because as I'm getting older, I don't know how many more years of shoveling driveways and all that I can do. I'm
Oh,
almost to that 40 mark, so
them bones start to ache
yeah,
a little bit more in
they
the
do,
cold. Yeah.
they do, they do. It's nice. Shoveling and all that is a young man's job and a young
Hmm.
man's game, and I'm starting to get away from that, as I found out this weekend.
uh, well, for
How
my done
about
up
you?
real good, I'm actually gonna, what something you said the other night after we got off our Saban recording. I messaged you to be like, hey man, you know what we forgot to talk about? The Auburn reaction. In case you missed it, folks, the students rolled Toomer's Corner once the news of
As
Saban
expected.
retiring broke, and
Oh,
your reply was, "That is the most Auburn thing to do. It's their biggest
ever.
win since the kick six," um,
It
which
is.
I thought was hilarious. And you're absolutely right; it absolutely was. And then to compound that all week, I would just say what's my done up real good is just their reaction in general, because the internet Auburn fans, and again, always full disclosure, all teams have bad fans. They're
Yeah.
usually the worst on the internet,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they have been stretching and trying and just so desperate to make the Kalen DeBoer hire look like the Brian Harson hire.
Yeah. I've seen
And
that so many places. I'm like, it's not even close.
folks, the only thing that they have in similar is the geography of where they
Yeah.
coached. Um,
Exactly.
Other than that, Harson was a winner. He's had a good record, but it was all at Boise State, and it was never
And it wasn't
at
anything amazing. It wasn't
no
like he
a
ever went.
couple
He
Mountain
never went
West. No,
undefeated. He
never
never made a
threatened
New
to
Year's
crash the
Six.
playoff. No, yeah.
Like it's not. It wasn't anything. It wasn't like Peterson back in the day. It was
Mm-mm.
nothing amazing. It was okay against the
Yeah.
Mountain West. It was okay. I
It
mean,
wasn't
it
even
wasn't
like
like
it
a
wasn't even
tough
on like
Mountain West.
Dan Hawkins level back in the day, you
No,
know?
no, it was average. It was okay.
No. And well,
This is nothing the same at all.
and the
Stop
bigger
it.
point, yeah, and the bigger point, because not to bash Brian Harson again, he was a good coach, had a good record before Auburn.
Yeah,
He'll probably coach somewhere again. I don't think he's working right now, probably enjoying that buyout money. But
yeah,
also, you cannot compare the situations they are walking
no,
into.
no.
Auburn's program was and pretty much always is just a dumpster fire
Hmm.
because of the meddling of the boosters and the board and
Right.
those behind the scenes power players. Whereas with Nick Saban, and this is granted, this is now the big job of Kalen DeBoer and
Hmm.
AD Greg Byrne. You know,
Hmm.
not saying that Alabama can't get crazy. We all remember coaching searches
Dude, I
before
mean,
Saban.
I mean, all
Hey,
SEC, and I mean it's everywhere, but all
hmm
SEC fan bases outside maybe Vandy have a crazy football fan base. It is what it
yeah,
is. That's just what
uh
we
huh,
are. A lot of us are crazy. Our expectations are probably for a lot of teams higher than probably what they should be, and we expect stuff, and yeah, that's just why the SEC is the SEC. It's well documented. I
yeah,
mean, some are
but
more rational than others, but that's what we are.
exactly. And the situation that DeBoer's walking into is in thousand times more stable than the situation Harson walked in. Harson had his
Yeah.
detractors from day one before he even accepted the job.
They literally wanted
Uh,
to fire that man as soon as he got there. They
mhm.
ran that whole scheme about him being with
The staffer,
someone on the
yeah.
staff, and did that ever even was? I know was there ever any real proof that anything ever even
No,
happened?
not at all. The only proof was that there was a young lady who was it was a cheerleader at Boise State
And
that
followed him to Auburn.
that ended up on his staff at Auburn in
Yeah.
some way. And I think we even
Oh,
talked about the time. That doesn't tell you anything other than maybe either she used her connection or
yeah. Who knows?
he probably had nothing. He might have not even had anything to do with the hiring. Whoever was hiring her saw that, oh,
Hmm.
you were a cheerleader at Boise State. Well, hey,
Yeah.
why not? Come on.
Yeah. But that
Yeah,
does.
no.
But talking about that, to further, did you see the Cadillac situation down at Auburn?
I saw that he left this week, which is
Yeah,
big. I have
there's a
not
lot
seen.
of. I mean, I don't. It's all internet talk, but I mean, there's a lot to it to why he's no longer on the planes. Yikes!
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Supposedly, was a Auburn staffer, female staff member. They kind of got
Hmm.
caught supposedly around the bowl season, and got to the wrong people, and yeah. So
Well, that's always
true or not, who
interesting.
knows? But you're like, man.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That and their defensive backs, receivers coach Etheridge. He went to
Mm-hmm.
Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Cadillac's an interesting name out there too. The rumors I've
Yeah.
heard that he might be headed to the pros somewhere, but
Yeah.
maybe that that could be a huge little steal there for DeBoer if you get him on staff somewhere.
Oh,
Certainly in recruiting
how
and
epic would that be to see their heads blowing up?
how mad, yeah, exactly. How mad
Get
would
Cadillac on the staff in
Auburn
some
be?
aspect. Oh boy.
But yeah,
Wishful thinking probably, but
yeah,
that
wishful
would be
thinking probably,
hilarious.
but it would be a
That'd be
funny get.
hilarious. Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I think that finally does it for us in just a jam-packed week, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be just as busy next week because all these
Oh
openings
yeah.
will start to get filled
Oh,
and
yeah.
more playoff results to go.
Mm-hmm.
The
It
Cowboys trying to
should be
make
a
the score
very,
look respectable at least
yeah,
here.
but it's terrible.
Yeah,
Absolutely
yeah.
pitiful.
So thanks again for listening, folks. We do enjoy your company as always. Be sure to subscribe to us, download episodes, rate us, do all those good things. Tell your friends about us. Tell your rich friends about us. Check out everyone in the Alabama Take family of podcasts. Check out the alabamatake.com. Check out Greg's stuff over on Bama Hammer.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And generally, remember to roll tide out there. Remember,
Roll
Alabama
Tide.
fans, it is time for a new era of perspective. Let's
Yeah.
let
Just
Coach
relax,
DeBoer do
chill,
his
let
thing.
things happen.
Relax.
Not
Yeah, let
every
things
not
happen.
every
Yeah.
move is. It seems like the end of the world with every move, but hey,
Mm-hmm.
that's what happens every season with the
Yep.
NIL transfer portal. Chill,
Yep.
relax. Let's let things happen, and I think we're gonna be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see the Kalen DeBoer era kick off in
Yeah,
earnest. It's a new era in college football altogether with the 12-team playoff coming up too.
yeah,
So,
for sure. Be fun.
yeah. As always, folks, keep it done up real good out there yourselves. Greg, take it easy, buddy.
You too, buddy.